I woke up after 3 years in a coma and discovered the brutal truth. My boyfriend had a new fiancée, my parents had replaced me with another daughter, and they all expected me to stay erased without fighting back. In my previous life, when I learned the truth, I lost my mind. I crashed Jake and Chloe's engagement party and was thrown out. Minutes later, I was hit by a car and died. They mourned me briefly, then showered all their love on Chloe. This time, things would be different. I looked at Jake, who stood awkwardly by my hospital bed. "We can break up," I said calmly. "But I want compensation." "What?" he asked, stunned. I smiled. 3 years ago, I saved your life. You'd be the one in this bed if not for me. 3 years of my time, plus your life. Name a price and pay me back. Jake's expression darkened. "Arya, I know you resent me, but must you degrade yourself like this?" I laughed coldly. "Degrade myself? I saved your life. You're brushing that off like it was nothing." He tried to soften his voice. "We were in love back then. I remember all the good you did for me." I rolled my eyes. How convenient. He still thought he could manipulate me. In my past life, I had just woken up when Jake told me he and Chloe had fallen in love at first sight. My memories were frozen in time 3 years back, when we were still happy. I remembered our trip together when Jake nearly got hit by a car. I pushed him out of the way. He lived. I fell into a coma. When I woke up, everything was different. I cried. I begged. I lost all dignity. They called me hysterical. On the day I was discharged, Jake got engaged. I caused a scene at the ceremony and was thrown out like trash. Moments later, I died. This time, I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't cry. I'd take back what was mine. $3 million, I said. That's the price of your life. Not too much, right? Or I could post this story online and let the world decide who's heartless. Jake's face turned pale. He had no words. 3 years ago, I was a genius, accepted into a top university without exams. Jake could never repay what I lost. He thought I'd beg for love again. He was wrong. "Arya, you might not accept it now, but we can still be friends. Chloe and I will take care of you," Jake said shamelessly. Before I could reply, the door opened. "Arya, you're awake." Chloe rushed in, eyes red with fake emotion. "If I hadn't woken up, you'd have stolen everything from me," I replied coldly. "That's not true," she said quickly. "I never wanted to compete with you." I smiled, sharp as glass. "It doesn't matter. You already took it. I don't care as long as Jake pays me what I deserve." Chloe blinked in disbelief. "You're not making a scene," she whispered. "Interesting. Had she also been reborn?" Jake said, "We're getting engaged." I said, "Why would I make a scene?" Her smug smile confirmed it. Yes, she'd lived this before, too. Jake, ever the hypocrite, chimed in. "Don't think too much, Arya. Focus on getting better." But I knew better. This time, no drama, just calm revenge. After 3 days in the hospital, I was brought home. My parents made a brief appearance, then disappeared. Chloe, eager and careless, threw a celebration supposedly for my recovery. Jake and their friends were all there. Chloe played the gracious hostess. "Arya is not fully recovered, so please be gentle with her today." The guests eyed us, clearly expecting drama. I didn't disappoint. "Jake, have you thought about what I said the other day?" I asked. Gasps rippled through the room. Jake looked annoyed. "Arya, stop being so unreasonable. There are people here. Do you really want to embarrass yourself?" "No," I said evenly. "But if anyone looks foolish, it's you. I saved your life. You moved on. All I want is compensation. $3 million. Everyone froze. Chloe gasped. "How could you be so greedy?" I smirked. "If it were you, Chloe, would you give your life for Jake?" "I would," she said tearfully. "Great. Then you pay for him. If life means that much, money should mean little." Chloe choked on her words. "You just want to ruin me." I admit it. I fell for Jake, but don't hurt him. Tears streamed down her face. Jake stepped forward. "Arya, I've made myself clear. I don't love you anymore. Whatever you do won't change that." I laughed. "I'm not begging for love. I'm demanding what I'm owed." "Or is your life worth nothing, Mr. Jake?" The guests whispered. "She's right. $3 million for a life is cheap." Jake's face turned gray. "Fine, I'll pay. After this, we're done." "Great," I said, sending him my account number. "Do it now. Let everyone witness it." Jake tried but couldn't transfer the full amount. He didn't have enough. He sent me $1 million. I clicked my tongue. "You can't even afford it, but you think you can cheat on me?" Chloe lost it. "The doctor said you'd never wake up. Did you expect Jake to remain faithful forever?" I raised an eyebrow. "Put away that ugly face. It's hard to look at." Jake pulled her into his arms. I'll send the rest tomorrow. After that, no contact. Fine. Whoever regrets it is a coward. A round of applause broke out. Among them, Alex, the eldest son of the Jang family, clapped with a smirk. He approached. 3 years in a coma, and you finally grew a brain. I smiled faintly. Took long enough. Alex pushed my wheelchair. Meet a wife tonight under the moonlight? I teased. How do I measure up? He looked at me. Don't run back to Jake tomorrow, crying for him. I won't, I promised. The next morning, I was stunned. A marriage certificate was in my hand. Alex had taken me to get married. No hesitation. I won't regret it, I said. Then my phone rang. Arya, come home immediately, my father barked. He was angry, probably about the money I took from Jake. Let's go, Alex said, his tone firm. Let's see who dares mess with Mrs. Jang now. But as we reached the door, a cup smashed at my feet. The sharp sound of the shattering cup echoed across the room, silencing the murmurs. My mother stood frozen near the dining table, her expression twisted between shock and fury. You dared to extort your ex-boyfriend, she hissed, stepping forward, her voice shaking with suppressed rage. Have you lost your mind, Arya? Alex stepped beside me, calm and unshaken. Funny, he said coolly. I thought your daughter was reclaiming a debt. Or is saving Jake's life worth nothing in this household? My father clenched his fists, his voice rising. We took care of you for 3 years. No, I interrupted, my tone icy. You left me to rot in that hospital while you replaced me with Chloe. Their faces darkened, but they didn't deny it. Chloe stepped out from the hallway just then, tears in her eyes, voice trembling like she had rehearsed it 100 times. Arya, please don't cause trouble. I've only ever wanted peace. Alex laughed. Peace? You mean quietly replacing Arya's life, her parents, and her fiancé? Jake arrived next, flustered and already fuming. Where's the rest of the money? I asked calmly, staring directly at him. He faltered. My assistant is working on it. You'll have it by tonight. I want it now, or do I need to make a public post detailing everything? I held up my phone. The threat hung heavy in the air. You wouldn't dare, Jake muttered. But there was no weight behind his words anymore. I would, I said. And you know what? People love a fallen prince story. Jake looked defeated. But before he could respond, Chloe stepped between us with trembling hands. If it's about money, I'll pay it, she whispered dramatically. Just stop humiliating Jake. Her fake nobility made me laugh. Great. You pay it. It'll be poetic. Really? Jake owes me his life, and his new love pays for it. Chloe's expression cracked for just a second. That was all I needed. Alex leaned toward me and whispered, You've changed, Arya. I like it. Later that night, after Jake transferred the remaining $2 million in a panic, my parents called a family meeting. Why are you being so cold to us? My mother asked, clutching her wine glass like a lifeline. I died 3 years ago, I replied. You just never buried me. They had no reply. I stood up slowly, looking at the place I once called home. I'll be leaving tomorrow, I said quietly. And I won't be coming back. My father scoffed. And go where? With Alex? You'll regret it. I met his gaze. I already regret wasting 19 years under this roof. Alex opened the front door, offering his arm. I took it without hesitation. As we stepped outside, I heard Chloe's faint voice behind me. She'll come back. She always does. Not this time. This time, I had been reborn with memories and a purpose. The morning air outside the Jang estate felt sharp against my skin, like I'd been reborn into a world that finally knew how to sting back. Alex's hand stayed firmly on my back as we walked toward his car. I could still hear the echo of Chloe's voice behind us, dripping with smugness. She'll come back. She always does. Wrong. I turned my head toward Alex. She really thinks this is still the same story. Alex's jaw tightened. Let her think that. It'll make the ending more satisfying. The drive to his penthouse was quiet. Not awkward, just charged. I watched the city blur past the window, the same city where I had nearly vanished into oblivion. Now I was back, and I had money, memory, and Alex. The moment we stepped into his apartment, it hit me. Clean lines, high ceilings, cold, elegant. It smelled like polished wood and steel, like him. You really married me in one night? I said, turning to face him. Alex raised an eyebrow. Regrets? I stepped closer, testing him. Not yet. He smirked. Good, because I don't believe in annulments. I laughed. It felt strange, foreign, but good. That night, as I sat by the balcony with a cup of tea in hand, Alex joined me with 2 envelopes. He handed one over. What's this? Your new identity, he said. Arya John died 3 years ago. I had a feeling you'd want a clean slate. Inside was a new ID, passport, credit cards, all under the name Arya Lynn. My middle name, my mother's maiden name. I blinked, touched beyond words. You've thought of everything, I whispered. I've waited long enough, he said simply. You have no idea how hard it was watching you chase people who didn't deserve you. I looked at him, heart twisting. I didn't know until it was too late. Alex didn't speak. He just placed the second envelope on my lap. What's this one? Your revenge starter kit. Inside were photographs, emails, financial records, evidence of Jake, of Chloe, of my parents, everything they'd done behind my back. Every lie, every secret, every betrayal. How? He shrugged. I don't sleep well. I flipped through the documents, fire igniting in my chest. My father had tried to transfer my trust fund to Chloe. My mother had told people I was brain dead. Jake had planned to propose to Chloe on the anniversary of the day I saved his life. Disgusting. I closed the envelope slowly. Then let's start playing. Alex leaned back, eyes glowing with approval. We'll do it your way, Mrs. Lynn. I smiled coldly. No more tears. No more begging. Let them think they've won, because now I was the one writing the ending. I didn't sleep that night. Not because of the nightmares, they'd long since stopped coming, but because I was too busy plotting. By sunrise, I had memorized every detail in Alex's revenge starter kit. The numbers, the names, the dates, the betrayal. At 8 o'clock sharp, I walked into Alex's home office dressed in one of his crisp white shirts that swallowed me whole and still made me feel more powerful than I ever had in silk. He looked up from his laptop, expression unreadable. Sleep well? Well enough to start a war. He slid his coffee across the table to me without a word. We understood each other now. First target? He asked. Chloe, I replied, no hesitation. Alex raised an eyebrow. Not Jake? No, Chloe first. She's the root. I sipped his coffee. Jake just follows whatever perfume is closest. I knew Chloe. She craved two things more than anything, validation and reputation. The quickest way to break her would be to taint her image slowly, publicly, irreversibly. I started by opening an anonymous social media account at The Real Flower Thief, a nod to the pure white lotus image Chloe loved to perform. Then I posted the first photo. It was one of the files Alex had given me, Chloe photoshopping herself into charity events she never attended. The caption read, "Funny how flowers bloom brightest in other people's gardens." I watched the post go viral in under 3 hours. Chloe's PR team scrambled. Jake called my phone twice that afternoon. I didn't answer. The next day, I sent an anonymous package to the hospital board where my father served. Inside was a copy of the forged documents he tried to use to redirect my trust fund to Chloe. He was removed from the board within 48 hours for investigation. Step by step, I was dismantling them. But revenge wasn't just about justice. It was about clarity. On the third day, as I stood on the balcony watching the city skyline, Alex joined me again. Do you feel better? He asked. No, I admitted. But I feel in control. He nodded. That's the first step. The rest will come. There was silence between us for a while. Then he added, your mother's been asking around. Let her. I shrugged. She can't reach me anymore. But that night, something unexpected happened. Alex was out at a meeting when someone buzzed the penthouse intercom. I checked the camera. It wasn't my parents. It wasn't Jake. It was Chloe, alone, wearing all white like the ghost of my past self. I didn't answer. I simply watched her through the screen. She stood there for a full 5 minutes, then whispered one word to the camera, softly but clearly, please. I tilted my head and smiled. The white lotus was starting to wither. The next morning, Alex found me at the kitchen island, slicing apples like I was prepping for war. She came, I said without looking up. Chloe, he asked casually, sipping his espresso. She stood outside the building, begged the camera, said please. Alex raised an eyebrow. You going to let her in? I looked up and met his gaze. Eventually. I want her desperate first, unstable. I want the world to watch her fall apart before she even knows what hit her. Alex smiled faintly, amused but approving. My next move was subtle. That same day, I made another anonymous post on at The Real Flower Thief. This time, it was a screen recording of Chloe's private messages, ones where she belittled charity work and mocked the people who supported her angelic image. The caption read, a white flower rots quickest at the root. Within hours, major accounts picked it up. Hashtags trended. Her influencer sponsorships began vanishing one by one, her curated world was collapsing in real time. By evening, Jake showed up at Alex's penthouse. I had expected it. He barged in like he still had a right to exist in my space. Arya, what the hell are you doing? He demanded. You're destroying Chloe. She's a mess. She can't eat. She can't sleep. I stood calmly and poured myself tea. Did she care about my hospital bed, my coma, my death? Jake flinched. You said we were young and foolish. Now you're reaping what foolishness grows. She's your sister now, he shouted. Your family chose her. My family replaced me, I said coldly. And as far as I'm concerned, they can keep her. Alex entered the room, eyes sharp, voice even. Time's up, Jake. Jake's jaw clenched. You're both insane. No, I replied, stepping forward. I just stopped being weak. Jake stormed out. I watched him disappear into the elevator, finally starting to look like the small, insignificant man he was. That night, Chloe tried again, this time messaging me directly. Chloe, Arya, please. Can we talk? I don't want to fight anymore. Me, then why did you start one? She didn't respond, but she didn't block me either. The next morning, my parents called me. I didn't answer. Then my mother left a voicemail, voice trembling. Arya, things are getting out of control. Your father's been suspended. Chloe's losing everything. Just come home and let's talk. Talk. Where was this when I was screaming for them to see me? When I died and they barely blinked. Now that everything was burning, suddenly they remembered my name. I poured another cup of tea and looked out the window. The city was full of noise and life and power. And this time I was choosing me. Let them feel what I felt. Let them choke on silence. It had been a week since the first crack formed in Chloe's perfect porcelain mask. In that short time, she'd lost 3 sponsorships, had a tear-filled meltdown on a live stream, and was labeled fraudulent by half a dozen influencer expose accounts. Still, the best part, I hadn't said a word publicly. The silence only made it worse for her. Because Chloe wasn't used to being ignored, she thrived on attention, even if it came as pity. And now the world was pulling away from her like she was contagious. Alex sat across from me, phone in hand. Do you want me to post the bank statements next? The one showing how your father funneled your trust fund into Chloe's vanity business? I shook my head. Not yet. We leak that when she tries to play the victim again. He nodded. You're getting good at this. No, I corrected. I've always been good. I just used to waste it on people who didn't deserve it. Alex smiled slightly, then handed me a file. There's one more thing you should see. I opened the folder. Inside were medical documents, ones I had never seen before. From the hospital during my coma. What is this? I asked, frowning. Alex hesitated. They were going to pull the plug. My breath caught. They signed the paperwork 2 weeks before you woke up, he said quietly. Your parents, Jake, Chloe, they all agreed. I didn't speak. I just stared at the documents as if the paper might catch fire in my hands. They were giving away your room to another patient, he added. I set the folder down, and I laughed. Not the kind of laugh that comes from humor, but the brittle, hollow kind that's closer to a scream. They didn't even wait for me to die properly, I whispered. Alex stood up and gently placed a hand on my shoulder. I stopped it. The moment I heard about it, I paid to extend your care privately. I looked up at him. Why? He didn't blink. Because I knew you weren't done yet. For a moment, the cold numbness build cracked, but I didn't cry. I was done crying for them. Later that night, I made a post from it, the real flower thief. Darker than any before, they signed the papers before the body was cold. But ghosts don't forget. And now the lights are on. No names, no details, just truth. And it was enough. The comments exploded. People began digging deeper. My father's involvement in multiple shady transfers. Chloe's fake charities. Jake's manipulation. They unraveled it for me. All I had to do was sit back and watch. The next day, Chloe showed up at Alex's penthouse again. But this time, she didn't beg. She screamed. You think this is justice, Arya? She yelled into the intercom camera. You think you're better than me now? Alex was beside me. Should I call security? No, I said, leaning closer to the screen. Let her scream. It's the most honest sound she's ever made. As Chloe sobbed and screamed on the sidewalk, a crowd gathered, phones out, recording every second. And I realized sometimes revenge doesn't need blood, just exposure. By the next morning, Chloe's breakdown video was everywhere. Hashtags like hashtag Chloe exposed, hashtag fake Lotus, and hashtag justice for Arya were trending on every platform. She tried to release a tearful apology video, but the internet smelled blood, and it wasn't in the mood to forgive. Jake tried to do damage control, calling me twice more. When I didn't respond, he showed up at Alex's penthouse again. This time, Alex met him at the door. I need to talk to her, Jake demanded. You had 3 years, Alex said coolly, stepping into his path. Now get out. I made a mistake. Okay. Jake blurted. But Chloe's losing everything. She's not eating. She's not sleeping. I stepped into view behind Alex. Did I eat when I was hooked to a ventilator? Did you care if I slept while you kissed my replacement? Jake's mouth opened. No words came out. You and Chloe wanted a stage, I continued, voice like ice. Now perform. Let the world see the act. He looked at me like he finally realized I wasn't going to crumble. Is there anything I can do to make this right? He asked quietly. Yes, I said. Disappear. Jake swallowed hard, then left without another word. That night, Alex and I stood on the balcony again. I was quiet, watching the chaos I had unleashed spiral outward like a wave. But instead of satisfaction, something else stirred. I thought I'd feel more finished by now, I admitted. Alex didn't look surprised. You spent years giving love that was never returned. That leaves scars. Revenge isn't a cure. It's just closure. Is that why you helped me? I asked. To give me closure? He turned toward me. I helped you because I couldn't lose you again. The silence between us deepened, but this time it wasn't heavy. It was grounding. Then his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, eyes narrowing. You'll want to see this. He handed it to me. It was a news alert, breaking, Chloe Lynn under investigation for fraudulent donations. Authorities seize foundation records. Below the headline was a photo of Chloe, pale and tear-streaked, being escorted out of her PR agency. I stared at the screen, heart pounding, but not from excitement, from the realization that this time justice wasn't symbolic. It was legal. Chloe's not just crumbling, I said slowly. She's collapsing. She played the game, Alex said, crossing his arms. She just didn't know someone smarter had rewritten the rules. But even as the pieces fell into place, something tugged at the edge of my mind. This wasn't over. Not yet. Because the people who replaced me weren't just collapsing. They were cornered. And people in corners, they bite. It started with a letter, an official envelope delivered to Alex's penthouse, addressed not to him, but to me, Arya John. Strange, considering I no longer use that name. Inside was a summons. My parents were suing me, claiming emotional distress, defamation, and theft. They wanted me to return the $3 million from Jake and pay damages for the public slander of Chloe's reputation. I stared at the pages in silence. The irony so sharp it made me laugh. They replaced you, Alex said, scanning the document beside me. And now they want to punish you for not staying erased. They're desperate, I replied. They're losing money, power, public sympathy. And now they want to use the courts to silence you. It made sense. They'd always counted on one thing, my silence, my obedience, my willingness to play the grateful daughter, the good girlfriend, the disposable girl. They still didn't understand. That girl was gone. Let them try, I said, voice calm. I'll go to court. But I won't be alone this time. Within 48 hours, I retained a lawyer, an old friend of Alex's who specialized in high-profile civil cases. She was fierce, smart, and deeply amused by the audacity of my parents' lawsuit. Let them come, she said. We'll drag every skeleton out of their walk-in closet. The media caught wind of the trial. Headlines exploded, Coma survivor sued by her own parents. Arya John, hero or villain? Public opinion didn't waver long. The internet, still fresh from Chloe's unraveling, sided with me almost instantly. Comment sections filled with fury. She was in a coma for 3 years, and now they're suing her. Give Arya her peace. She earned it. But just when I thought Chloe had finally vanished from the picture, she showed up outside the courthouse in a black dress, a neck brace, and large sunglasses. Every bit the tragic heroine. Reporters swarmed. She gave a single quote, I never wanted this. I still love my sister. I stood inside the courthouse window, watching her spin the narrative. Alex appeared beside me, his voice a whisper. She's setting up the second act. Redemption. She won't get it, I said. Not this time. When I took the stand, I told the truth, about the coma, the betrayal, the replacement, the silence, the pain. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I simply spoke. And when the court clerk called for recess, I stepped down to a standing ovation. Not from the courtroom, but from the people waiting outside. Dozens of strangers, supporters, survivors, people who had been discarded and silenced and replaced just like me. Alex took my hand as I stepped outside. You've already won, he said. But deep in my gut, I knew the final blow was still coming. The verdict came swiftly. The court ruled in my favor. The judge called the lawsuit frivolous, a transparent attempt to silence a victim, and ordered my parents to pay legal fees and issue a public apology or face further penalties. The headlines the next morning were ruthless: parents sue coma survivor and lose everything. Public backs Arya Lynn as truth comes to light. Chloe vanished from social media. Jake resigned from his father's company. My parents' business collapsed under the weight of bad press, frozen accounts, and old skeletons unburied by our legal team. One by one, they fell like dominoes. I thought it would feel like triumph. But what I felt was quiet, peaceful, hollow, real, until the knock on the door came. It was night. Rain tapped at the glass. Alex opened it, and there she was, Chloe, soaked, alone. No cameras, no followers, no entourage, just a girl with nothing left. I just wanted to talk to her, she whispered, her voice almost broken. I stepped forward, no fear, no hatred, just clarity. Chloe looked up at me. You won, Arya. What more do you want? I stared at her. You think this was about winning? She blinked, confused. This was about survival. You took everything and still wanted my silence. Now you're upset that I screamed. Her lips trembled. You were supposed to stay gone. She paused, correcting herself. I never thought you'd come back like this. I did, I said simply. Because people like us don't get second chances. We take them. Chloe fell silent. Then, to my surprise, she reached into her coat and pulled out a flash drive. What is that? I asked, suspicious. Evidence, she said softly. Of something worse. My mother helped cover it up. I narrowed my eyes. Why give it to me? Chloe looked tired, genuinely this time. Because I know you'll do what I couldn't. She turned and left without another word. I closed the door, the flash drive cold in my hand. Alex stepped beside me. What is it? I don't know, I said. But if Chloe's giving it to me, it must be damning. We plugged it into Alex's laptop. What we saw. A series of recordings, conversations, wire transfers, manipulations that went deeper than I ever imagined. My father, Jake's father, Chloe's mother, a network. And then something about me, a date, a payment to the hospital. 3 years ago, the day of my accident. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. Alex, I whispered. What if I wasn't just a victim of a car accident? He looked at me, face darkening. Then this isn't revenge anymore, he said quietly. It's war. The room was silent except for the hum of Alex's laptop. I stared at the paused video, hand trembling slightly over the keyboard. The final frame showed a signed approval, my father's name, authorizing the payment to a hospital staffer. A payoff on the day of my accident. They knew, I whispered. They planned it. Alex's voice was calm but cold. They wanted you gone. The recording confirmed it. My accident wasn't one. Chloe's mother had tipped Jake off that I planned to propose to him on our vacation. Chloe didn't want the scene. Jake didn't want the commitment, so they set me up, a staged near miss at a busy intersection. I wasn't meant to go into a coma. I was meant to disappear. They didn't expect me to push Jake out of the way, I muttered. No, you rewrote the script they gave you. Alex's voice carried quiet pride. Now finish it. We leaked the recordings. Not anonymously, not through hidden channels. I posted them myself, as Arya Lynn. The caption was simple, you tried to erase me. Here's the truth, the full story. Let the world decide who should disappear now. It spread like wildfire. Arrests followed. Jake's father was detained for financial fraud and obstruction. Chloe's mother was investigated for conspiracy and bribery. My parents went into hiding, facing charges, disgrace, and the public's wrath. But I stayed exactly where I was, visible, unapologetic, alive. Days later, I stood in front of a university podium, the same one I should have graduated from 3 years ago. They invited me back as an honorary speaker. I wore white, the real kind, not the fake purity Chloe once performed. This white had grit, scars, resurrection woven into it. As I spoke to the crowd, I caught Alex's eyes in the back row. You don't have to be reborn to begin again, I said. But if you ever do, don't come back to beg for love. Come back for justice, for truth, for you. The applause was deafening. Later that night, Alex poured us wine as the city blinked below. You did it, he said. No, I corrected. We did it. We clinked glasses, and for the first time in years, I breathed without pain in my chest. You still think you're too broken for love? Alex asked softly. I turned to him. No, I said. I think I'm finally whole enough to choose it. He smiled, leaned in, and kissed me slowly, deliberately. Not like an ending, like a beginning. Because that's what this was. Not revenge, not rebirth. This was resurrection.